talking about this yesterday. I actually think that Metronome and WorkOS are solving very similar shapes of problems for the two different parts of a company. Specifically, WorkOS is focused on enterprise product readiness as you move up market in, what are the demands of your on your product as far as, auth and all the stuff you're seeing today. Metronome is focused on the monetization side of your product. What does it mean to be enterprise ready from the go-to-market and how you monetize and deliver value and then charge and collect on that value. And monetization has been changing a lot in the past, let's say, decade, 2 decades. 2 decades ago, you could build a multi-billion-dollar business with billing and monetization being a one-person spreadsheet operation, back office, totally disconnected from your product. Now, in this kind of current market time, monetization is this rat's nest of complexity where you're expected to not only be thinking about seats and subscriptions, but also hybrid consumption models or fully consumption or outcome models, layering that all together, bring visibility and that complexity back into your product so you can do PLG cutoffs and upsells and fraud detection and all these kind of complex monetization workflows. And also, it's happening much faster. It used to be that you could have a PLG side of your business that you maybe have some simple in-product controls around, and then eventually customers start spending more money, and you put a sales rep on, they kind of move over to your SLG or your enterprise segment. Now, your PLG customers could become one of your fastest growing enterprise customers literally overnight as their own businesses take off. And so Metronome has built a platform across PLG and SLG that represents kind of any monetization model you want anywhere along this whole spectrum so that you can build once against the Metronome platform and support whatever monetization you want to roll out today and also in the future. And I'll flip to a demo in a second, but just really quick note that we work with basically any company that's doing innovative monetization today is a Metronome customer. And so there's a lot of logos up here that you will obviously recognize. But in WorkOS fashion, let's just switch over to a demo. So at a high level, the Metronome platform, like say, is this universal platform where you can come in and see your monetization, your customer base, and then configure whatever monetization you want on that. So how that works underneath the hood is we operate effectively like an observability platform. Think like a Datadog, where you're streaming us raw events that happen in your product. So this isn't stuff like user charged this or user should be charged that. This is stuff like, storage was used, or so let's actually click into one of these events, and you can see how many bytes were stored, or how many CPU seconds were being used, what users did this, what organization ID. These are just things that are happening in your product. You're streaming those to Metronome. And then on top of that, you're setting up your customer base. And so I have a couple of customers loaded into this demo. I'm just going to use this demo customer, but again, you're loading, you're segmenting 2 different systems, PLG and enterprise. You're loading your full customer base in here because you have one platform you can build against for the whole customer journey. So looking at this demo customer, we can jump in. This customer has a contract. It's pretty simple. There's maybe 5 products on here. An API calls product, and then a couple different AI products with different models. And say, these products are just views on top of that underlying event stream, right? And so you're saying, filter the events by event types or LLM request, add some group keys, kind of sum up those fields. And so this is a pretty simple contract for this customer. And if we jump into the invoices here, you can see this customer has an invoice that is computed in real time. So you can do stuff like real-time fraud detection or fraud prevention by calculating the balance in literally sub-seconds as you're sending usage in. And in fact, if this page refreshes, it might change as we're seeing it. But if we look at this customer, you can see they're spending a fair amount of money right now. There's a $51,000 bill just for October. So maybe this customer is starting to think about moving up market, moving into wanting to sign maybe a more complex deal. You can just come into Metronome, edit the contract, and this is where that kind of full complexity that I showed in the earlier slide lives. You can set up, complex commits or credits where you want to, have them burning down against different pools of credits that apply to different products. You can set up threshold billing where every time they hit a threshold, like every time they have $1,000 of unbilled usage, invoice them to make sure that you're not running up a huge fraud tab. And so for this, maybe I'll set up a commit here. Maybe this customer wants to commit to a post-paid commit, which is to say, if I'm committing to spend, let's say, $100,000 by the end of the year. We have to put a priority in here, and probably also set a postpaid commit here. And so I can add that commit, and maybe in exchange for that commit, in exchange for committing to spend $100,000 by the end of the year, I wanted to get a discount. I want to get a discount off of list price. So I would say add an override in here, maybe search for, well, actually, let's just do all my products here and say I'll give them, just for the sake of a demo, a 50% discount. In practice, it probably wouldn't be quite that high. And maybe this discount, I'm only going to start on the 15th of the month. All aspects of Metronome are very kind of atomic and also schedulable, so you can have a lot of flexibility of when things go live. You'll see a lot of these starting at and ending before dates in the product. So I'll add that, and I'll just save this contract now. And you can see I have this commit. It's about half burned down. And if I jump into the invoice now, the invoice is cheaper. It's not significantly cheaper because a lot of that usage happened earlier in the month. But you can see I now have two different rates for two different unit prices for most of my usage, some effective October 15th ongoing and some effective for the first part of the month. And I now have this draft invoice that will be invoiced at the end of the year, assuming I don't burn out this post-pay commit balance. And this is a very simple demo. The real value of a Metronome platform is all those other flags in that contract screen, and it's really hard to demo that live in 5 minutes. So what I would say is we have a bunch of our team here today in the AI lab. If you are struggling with monetization, or you think that you will, which you will if you're moving up market, you should come, swing by our booth. We'll set up at the booth, set up your pricing in the product, and then we can talk about what it would look like to roll out whatever pricing you think you know, or you think you need, or you may need, and we can show what that would look like in the product if you integrate against Metronome. So that's Metronome. Come talk to us. We'll be here all day, and thank you.